Hi, everybody. Welcome to our workshop on the Integrated Community Project, Increasing Community Access and Quality of Life for All. My name is Kate Kelly. I'm the Associate Director at the Supportive Housing Association of New Jersey. And I have here with me today Matthew von der Hayden. He is the Township Administrator and Director of Water and Sewer Utility for the Township of Stafford. And also Jackie Cates, who is the Project Advisor to Age-Friendly Teaneck, and also a leadership team member of the Integrated Community Project. I don't know, Jackie and Matt, if you want to say a quick hi before I get into our slides.
I think you did perfect, Kate. Keep going.
Okay, great. Thank you. We're here today, as I said, to talk about the Integrated Community Project. We are very grateful for the funding this project has received in our second phase from the New Jersey Council on Developmental Disabilities and the Henry and Marilyn Taub Foundation. The goal of the Integrated Community Project is to work to increase the capacity of people with disabilities and also barriers to become more fully engaged in their community. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of the project in a minute, but I wanted to start by talking about really why this project has been so important to us. It raises the voices of individuals with lived experience who have a variety of disabilities and barriers, including those who are aging. We have, through this project, provided leadership opportunities for people with a variety of lived experiences. We've been able to connect with many organizations and leaders who may, in their day-to-day work and advocacy and policy work, focus on one specific disability or barrier, but through the broader work of this project, we've been able to work on larger goals around improving the better quality of life for people, no matter what their barriers may be. And we've really, through this project, been able to share with cities and towns best practices that we use around increasing community access through inclusion and integration. This project kicked off in January of 2021. We initially worked in 3 counties, and now the work has expanded into 9 counties throughout the state. We held focus groups where we met with people with a variety of lived experience. We then formed leadership teams. We asked people from the focus groups to join us in the leadership teams. The leadership teams helped us develop self-assessments, a self-assessment for cities and towns that we've used to meet with 26 cities and towns in the 9 counties that we've been working in to help cities and towns really reflect on all the good work they're already doing and where they might like to do more. And we developed coming out of the self-assessments and the work of the leadership teams, we also developed a toolkit, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I'm just trying to move my window here so that I can advance. This shows our toolkit. It is a virtual resource that's available on our website in English and translated into Spanish. And the toolkit really focuses on sharing key resources, best practices, and tools with municipalities around the key areas that people in our focus groups shared with us they'd like to be more involved and feel more included. Physical environment, cultural and recreation opportunities, civic engagement and participation, employment, meaningful and gainful employment, communication, transportation, and housing. And I do have, before I turn it over to Matt, I just have one more thing I wanted to just mention. The impact we've really been able to have through this project is that leaders with lived experience have been able to grow even further as leaders. And really more and more cities and towns are sharing with us their best practices and using our developed tools, the self-assessment and the toolkit, to further integrate their community's work and increase the access and the community access within their community, and also increase the quality of life for all. So we're very happy about that. I'm now going to turn it over to Matt, who's going to talk specifically about what is happening in Stafford. And I should say that the Township of Stafford is one of the 25 communities that has used the toolkit for municipalities. So Matt, feel free to let me know when you're ready to advance, and I can advance your slides for you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Kate. I think you did a great job. Um, I'll put the plug in for Kate. I've been the township administrator and director of water and sewer with Stafford since 2019. One of the things and the goals of the township has always been to look at a comprehensive approach in everything that we do. And one of the things with that is how do we make our community more inclusive? So that means including everybody in the processes that we do. So maybe about a year or so ago, Kate came to me with the toolkit and we said, yes, like usually when you see programs like this, if you're coming at it from a municipal level, anything that you could do to put, use resources that great people like Kate and her organization are promoting and doing, that's an opportunity to take advantage of it. So we did. Kate and I met a few times, and we put that toolkit to use based off of things that we have done and things that we're planning and going to do. So, Kate, if you could move the last slide, I think, but I would encourage everybody to definitely take a look at that toolkit and utilize it. Where we've been is we've tried to make sure that as we look at all projects, that we make them inclusive. So the picture you see to the left is a picture of our biggest playground. It's our biggest park in the township. That's an ADA. You can go if you're in a wheelchair or in crutches. You can go all the way to the top of that structure. It's poured in place rubber, so anybody can utilize it. It's good for children with disabilities that are in wheelchairs and crutches, but also for the kids. I have little ones. When they fall, hey, when they land on poured in place rubber, it makes it a heck of a lot easier, and they don't get hurt as much. It's also great for maintenance for public works staff. The middle picture was the second park we did like that. It's all ADA compliant. There's ADA devices there, poured in place rubber. You'll see the picture in the top part, the core words and communication board. I have a son with autism. He's unable to speak. So these PEX boards, communication boards are excellent, and we put them out. We've used our community development block grant funds to put them out in locations so people that are unable to speak, they have them as a way to talk. We also, the picture to the bottom is a track swing. That's for individuals that, would unable to use a typical swing. They can go into that, and it's almost like a roller coaster ride that they can go down the path. And we did that with the CDBG money as well. If you don't mind hitting the next slide, Kate. We also looked at, being more inclusive. This is a library. Back in working with our Ocean County government, they had put in for a grant, and we were working with them to try to build a new library in the township. Unfortunately, they didn't get the first round of grant funding, so I helped and assisted as the administrator and a grant writer, helped write the grant. We were fortunate enough to get this $4.8 million grant, and that library is being built right now. But again, it's about providing services to our seniors. There's multiple senior programs for individuals with disabilities, but programs for everyone in the township that they'll not be able to utilize in this new Stafford branch. You can go to the next slide, Kate. The other thing we're doing is trying to make the township more walkable and bikeable. So the picture you see to your left, that's a grant that we were able to get. It was 900, almost $1 million to connect and promote pathways. So it's putting sidewalks in where we don't have sidewalks to connect between the Stafford Township School District, which is pictured by the little blue horse that's up in the left-hand corner, but all the way out to where that library is being built out by Route 9, so that people can walk and bike to those areas, including the ADA curb strips that, you have access to actually use the sidewalks. The other one to the right is one that we're working on with the Pinelands Commission right now. It's to do the same thing. It's create a passive park in an area that's currently not utilized, reforested in areas with the hatched line that you see in there that says reforested area, but to create a pathway so that individuals in wheelchairs, for the public, this is an area that's not used right now. What you find there right now is trash. There's been bad activity, drug behavior, homelessness. We have a really good social service department to be able to work to assist with that. But we're putting this property to use and trying to make it more inclusive for those that would utilize it. Next slide, Kate. The other thing is doing more in the community. So we participate actively in the mayor's wellness campaign. We just did a workshop last Friday for wellness and prevention, a workshop for our seniors. We did that so that we could get the integrate the seniors. A lot of the things that we see with our seniors is there's mental health awareness issues. There's not that they don't have the ability to interact or get to certain things to provide for wellness and prevention activities. So we worked with the mayor's wellness campaign. We worked with groups like Sustainable Jersey to be able to fund these events, and we do them on a regular basis. We have this Sunday. We have a bunny hop, which is a 5K run or walk, but it's promoted to all in the community so that they could utilize it and to bring that in. And we're constantly looking to do those type of events because the more we can get the community involved, the more input we get. We can then take that input and put it into the projects and the programs and the services that we provide to our community. So that's how we're integrating that. Next slide, Keith. I think that's it.
Kate, you're muted.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Matt. Was there a slide at the end?
I think it was just the question slide, so we'll hold off.
Question slide.
Yep.
Okay. So, well, I think we're going to wait and take questions at the end. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jackie.
Okay, thank you, Kate, and thank you, Matt. Serving as a member of the Bergen County leadership team of the Integrated Community Project has given me the opportunity to learn firsthand about many of the challenges facing people with physical or developmental disabilities in our communities, both by interacting with the leadership team members with lived experience, as well as from the insights offered by members of focus groups of residents from throughout the state who participated in this project. Unless we actually know and listen to people with disabilities, we really have no idea what their needs may be. And we also don't recognize the value or potential value to our communities. Every individual, no matter what their disability, can become involved and make a contribution if their participation is encouraged or supported. We really have to listen to their voices. What's happening in Stafford is inspiring. So much more needs to be done in many of our communities to ensure that public buildings, parks, and other recreational facilities are accessible to people of all abilities and all ages. Accessible infrastructure, as you have seen, also includes pedestrian safe streets and sidewalks that are safe and accessible for people who use wheelchairs, bicycles, walkers, canes, or push baby carriages. It also means more accessible bathrooms in public buildings and recreation areas and grab bars in bathroom stalls. As you can see, I'm in the older adult category, so that's something that I am very aware of. In addition, of course, to ramps and doorways that are wide enough to accommodate wheelchairs. It also means providing additional transportation options for residents who become isolated because they cannot drive. Accessible infrastructure also means providing induction looping in public spaces to allow people with hearing loss to much more easily participate in public meetings and events without having to request special accommodations. This is a growing need due to the increasing numbers of individuals who experience hearing loss as they age and begin to use hearing aids. Induction looping will ensure that they can feel comfortable participating in meetings, events. I wouldn't know anything about induction looping if I hadn't had the opportunity to serve on this project with Arlene Romoff, who I see is participating in this breakout session. Her lived experience with hearing loss is educating people throughout New Jersey and beyond, as well as improving the quality of life for thousands of individuals with hearing loss. I also believe that accessibility means continuing to permit governmental meetings to be available on Zoom or as a hybrid option, as well as in person. The ability to participate in meetings from home has been a godsend, one blind resident told me, as well as for many older adults and many people with disabilities and others whose transportation options are limited, particularly in the evenings. But microphones must be strategically positioned so that Zoom users can hear every speaker, and closed captions must be enabled for people with hearing loss who use Zoom. We have to be creative in using multiple means of communication, including print materials that can be distributed throughout the community, in addition to digital communication, to ensure that people with disabilities and older adults who may not even use or own computers are aware of meetings, programs, events, and community resources that are available to them. People with disabilities can and should be appointed to municipal advisory boards and commissions, and not only to those boards that deal with disability issues. People with lived experience can bring a different and needed perspective to municipal planning and zoning boards, and has just as much knowledge and interest in other areas as any other person. I was privileged to join Kate as she met with several representatives of different municipalities to complete a self-assessment of what they're doing to meet the needs of people with disabilities in their communities, as well as their efforts to involve the participation of people with disabilities in their communities. There's a lot of good happening in our communities, and there's so much that communities can learn from each other. Just as Stafford serves as a model for inclusion, so can other communities. In the community where I live, residents with disabilities are often invited to community events such as a health fair or the annual Christmas tree lighting 30 minutes before the general public is invited. They're given preferential treatment. They can get up close and personal and admire the tree and decorations without the noise and jostling of several thousand other people. This is so easy to accomplish, but it makes a difference to so many individuals and families, and it shows that the borough cares about those residents. It's my fervent hope that every civic, social, and faith organization in every community will become more aware and more welcoming, and that decision-making at all levels of municipal government will include considerations of policies and practices that benefit people of all abilities and all ages. It is not only the right thing to do, it will enrich the lives of all of us. Thank you.
Jackie, thank you very much. And thank you also, Matt. I think, hearing from our other two panelists really gives a sense of how the work of the Integrated Community Project has really been a team effort and a partnership, and it's just been an opportunity for new connections to have been made that may have not been made before. So at this point, I want to open up for questions. I'll look in the chat, or feel free to use your microphone. We'd love to answer any and all questions about the Integrated Community Project, our process, what we're doing now. We're still available for self-assessments. I should add, the communities that we are working in are Bergen, Passaic, Hudson, Middlesex, Somerset, Camden, Ocean, and Cumberland counties. Arlene.
Yes, thank you. And thanks, Jackie, for your great presentation. I'm so glad to have people advocating for the needs of people with hearing loss. I wanted to ask a question on the presentation that showed a brand new library. Were any of the meeting rooms in that library looped? Because I'm in Bergen County and we're really trying to get libraries looped, because that's a big activity area for seniors as well as other people with hearing loss. And even our own Hearing Loss Association chapter for Bergen County, for example, doesn't have a place to meet that's not permanently looped. So that's my question to you. And if it's not looped, could it be looped, please? And I also wanted to mention that I know now that there are some senior residences that are looping their general meeting rooms to tremendous response from their residents. So, okay, I'll let you answer about the library. Thank you.
Yeah, so the library itself is actually a partnership between Ocean County government and Stafford Township. So they're actually doing two things. That not every room, but they have I believe it's 1 or 2 meeting spaces that are looped, and they also have an autism room for those with sensitive issues that they would be able to utilize those rooms within the library.
That is like music to my cochlear implants. It's really, really, because usually people would say, oh, no, and sheepishly, no. And so that response is the hard work of many people in this room and making it beyond just the single advocate like me. So my friend of many years ago told me, reach one and teach one. And that's what we're seeing, and that's correct. So thank you so much.
Great. I have to say, Arlene has been, she was another initial leadership team member who joined the work, at the same time Jackie did. She's also joined me from some self-assessments, and she's been a wonderful addition and partner in this work. Other questions, comments? Carlton.
I'm sorry, I don't see how to raise my hand. Maybe Matt could talk a little bit about regulatory issues that he and we have faced in trying to make things like trails accessible, given environmental regulations that were not written with this topic in mind, but that we have to deal with. And, the possibility of reforming those rules to make it easier.
I think Carlton knows this. He's been a great partner here in Stafford Township. We some of the rules that he's talking about are like with the passive park that I showed in the slide deck. I've had to go to Pinelands Commission 3 times already, and I have to go one more time. And it's being an advocate and showing the reason why these type of projects are worthwhile. So, for example, like when I've gone to the Pinelands Commission, my son's also in a wheelchair, and I have an augmentative device. So, like I've hauled them out there multiple times to show, well, if I do, poured in place mulch. So the poured in place rubber surface, if I was to do it with pea gravel or with mulch, which is considered ADA, well, I challenge anybody to take a wheelchair and try to push it through gravel or push it through mulch. It's tough to do, right? Even if you got a little child in there, I've I serve I volunteer my time and coach for areas that have kids with disabilities. So Hoops for All, Field of Dreams, and you see parents, they struggle when they have to go to these areas, right? So if you can make it more inclusive and you educate, it's just like the comment that Arlene just said. If you can teach one person and allow people to be educated, well, it makes it easier to do our project. So, but to me, having workshops like this and getting like-minded people together, we all help each other out. Because I will say, Carlton and his work, I wouldn't be where we're at to get that passive park eventually approved without good people like that.
And I will add, and I think Carlton, you know this too, we were very happy at one of the hearings that Matt spoke at. One of our leadership team members, a young adult who has a physical disability, uses a wheelchair. She and her mother were able to attend one of the meetings, and she was able to speak about her lived experience. And so I think that's just, I talked about in my opening remarks how we were very happy and pleased with the leadership opportunities that we were able to give people in the leadership teams. And that was just one example. Folks have gone on to get jobs working for the state, working for advocacy organizations. Because something folks said to us when I first approached them for the focus groups is they didn't want to join another committee or another group where they shared their lived experience and then it went nowhere. They felt like they weren't heard, or so that was really helpful to us. I'm going to put my information in the chat if folks want to reach out to me individually, but Pamela asked a really great question. Was there representation from the blind and visually impaired community? And yes, we had in each of our 3 regional leadership teams, we had at least one person with some visual impairment or who was blind. And we really tried to be very, very inclusive in our focus groups and leadership teams to have all disabilities and barriers represented. And that's how we learned so much from each other, right? We learned that, you know, an accommodation that's made for one group can help another group, that we don't need to operate in separate silos. So really excellent question, Pamela. Other comments or questions? I should say, you know, we are still available to conduct self-assessments, and I put my phone number and email address in the chat. If you are part of a municipality, work with a municipality that is interested in the self-assessment, we are very happy to set up a time, 1 hour on Zoom. We can meet with elected officials, with staff in the city or town, you know, members of an ADA committee or a senior advisory committee, whoever is most helpful. We're happy to do that. And I also included a link to the toolkit in the chat that's available online. You know, I'm available to meet with any, you know, sort of nonprofit group, advocacy group, municipality, to give a brief presentation on the toolkit, walk folks through it, but you can also access it directly yourself. And again, we're really happy through the generosity of the Council on Developmental Disabilities that it's available on our website in Spanish. Arlene, I see you have your hand raised, but I'm just going to go to Donna. Hasn't had a chance. I'm going to have her ask her question, then I'll come back to you. Donna.
Thanks.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. This is absolutely perfect. The timing is absolutely wonderful for this presentation. I'm in Franklin Township in Somerset, and we just did a health needs assessment, and all the things that you touched on are exactly the areas that were addressed and were identified as key findings of the survey. So I think, you know, we are very fortunate that we do have a very thriving older adult community, and we have two senior centers, we have 2 libraries. It's like the Twin City here. So we have those resources. But even despite all of that, we're a very parts of it are rural, parts of it are urban, and it's a very diverse community. So I think that's part of the, I guess that's the question that I have, is that when you have the largest municipality in Somerset County, when you have such a large municipality and you have such diverse needs, like for example, transportation comes up as an issue. It's not a very, it's not a very transportation friendly city. You know, people can't get to our meetings. I'm chair of my township's Board of Health Advisory Council. You know, the meetings take place at the municipal building. So there's no transportation directly to those buildings. So how do you, you know, people want to get involved, but that's, you know, transportation in Jersey is an issue. But are there any creative solutions that anyone has come up with for something like that?
I mean, I'll talk briefly, and then Matt or Jackie may have things to add. You know, we share in the toolkit a variety of transportation resources. There are some resources out there that cities and towns may not be available and not currently accessing, that they can share that information with their residents. You know, where the technology is available for hybrid events, you know, works very well for folks. But I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with what some barriers are. Matt or Jackie, I'll let, if either one of you wants to jump in.
Well, I just like to say that it sounds old-fashioned, but I think when someone offers, if people can help to arrange rides, when someone actually reaches out to another person and says, not only, you know, I'll drive you if you want, but I'd like you to come with me, so that you're actually spending time with that person. And you know, other relationships develop, but I think in a situation like yours, you may need that. And I also think that the support of the municipal elected leaders and the township administrator, someone who's like Matt, who has a real understanding, it comes from the top down as well as the bottom up, because he's listening to what the residents need. that doesn't happen all over. Managers and council members have so many priorities. It's really up to us to make sure that this becomes a priority. There's got to be advocacy, and they've got to hear from residents with lived experience.